Bible Time, Dominic Steele. Good morning. It is Monday morning, 28th of November. I'm back from holidays. Today, Daily Bible Time, we're just going to deal with the questions that came up in yesterday's presentation on Titus 1 at Village Church. And look, there's a few about overseers and men and women, that kind of thing. I'll just deal with this one. The first line of Titus 1, first line, second, third line, is God who cannot lie. And there's a question about God who cannot lie. And the question is, how do we reconcile the assertion that God cannot lie with God's actions in 1 Kings 22? So you go read 1 Kings 22, and really the line is verses 20, 21, 22. Finally a spirit came forward, stood before the Lord and said, I'll go and entice him. By what means, said the Lord? I'll go out and be a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all his prophets. He said, you will succeed in enticing him, said the Lord. Go and do it. So now the Lord has put a deceiving spirit in the mouths of all these prophets of yours. The Lord has decreed disaster for you. Well, there's the little couple of verses, just a little burst out of context. And I just did a little bit of a Google and checked out defendinginerrancy.com on 1 Kings 22, and the question posed there is, how could God use lying spirits to do his will, since he forbids lying? Let me just read to you their problem and their solution, because they've set it out really well. I think the scriptures teach that God is truth, Deuteronomy 32:4. We could also say Titus 1, and that is, it is impossible for him to lie, Hebrews 6:18. Furthermore, God commands us not to lie, Exodus 20 verse 16, and he'll severely punish those who do, Revelation 21:8. And yet, in spite of all this, God is portrayed in this passage as enlisting lying spirits to entice wicked King Ahab to seal his own doom. The text says, now therefore look, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets of yours. And the solution suggested by Defending Inerrancy is several factors they say should be considered in understanding this solution. First, this is a vision. As such, is a dramatic picture of God's sovereign authority spelled out in regal imagery. Secondly, it's a dramatic vision representing God in all his sweeping authority, so that even evil spirits are represented as being subject to his ultimate control. Third, the God of the Bible, in contrast to the gods of pagan religions, is in sovereign control of everything, including the forces of evil, which he does use to accomplish his good purposes. We see that in Job 1-3. Fourth, the Bible sometimes speaks of God hardening people's hearts, see Romans 9:17, or even sending them strong delusions, 2 Thessalonians 2:11. However, on closer examination of the text, we discover that God did this only on those who freely harden their own hearts, Exodus 8:15, and who did not believe the truth, 2 Thessalonians 2:12. In short, the authors here say God is not commending lying here. He's simply utilizing lying to accomplish his purposes. God is not promoting lying, but permitting it as part of bringing judgment on evil. That is, God, for his own purposes of justice, allowed Ahab to be deceived by evil spirits whom he knew in his omniscience would be used to accomplish his sovereign and good will. I also noted a really helpful little article on the Gospel Coalition site on talking about really not so much the lying question, but the sovereignty of God question here in 1 Kings 22. Now, next question is, do Paul's words about the husband of one wife mean single men, such as Paul, cannot be elders? Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think when I was being taught on this, I was told a one-woman man was the idea, but or not more than one woman. That was the issue, rather than that a single person couldn't be an elder. I think. There's another question coming on exactly that. Can single men be elders? Can childless married men be elders? It was interesting. In one of the commentaries I read in preparation for this in Titus 1, it suggested actually that for childless married men or childless single men, given that one of the criteria was able to manage children, and that there ought to have been an experience in youth ministry potentially as a proving ground before one was appointed youth or children's ministry before one was appointed as an elder. I thought that was speculative, but I thought, well, you know what? It couldn't hurt. And I've enormously benefited from the ministry that I've done as a young man, as a children's minister, as a youth group leader, as a beach mission team leader. Next question, are elders and overseers different roles? Well, in the end, I don't think so. I think the elders have oversight, and I would say they're pretty much the same role. Well, they are the same role. Having said that, I recognise that lots of theological blood has been spilt on that topic, and lots of wise people have spent lots of time trying to differentiate here. The Greek word behind elder is presbyteros, and the Greek word behind overseer is episkopos. And so some would say the local minister of a church, and this is in the Anglican system, is a presbytera. That's the role that I hold in the Sydney Anglican Church, and the episkopos is the bishop. And so they would, at that point, differentiate between the two. I think that's a stretch myself. And so I'm saying, yeah. And in fact, the commentaries that I read on Titus 1's landed that way as well. Can women be overseers? Can women be elders? I think in the Bible, no. I think we will see a role for women, if you like, the elderesses, the older women to teach the younger women in Titus chapter 2. And so I'm going to hold off on speaking on the role of women positively until next Sunday, when I'll be able to do that. But in terms of the role of elder, I think it's really the husbands that are to be the roles of elders in the Christian church. Somebody else has asked, similarly, what is the significance of the passage speaking about male and not female elders? Should we read this as preventing women from leading, or is it only specific to the circumstance that this was written? Now, I certainly don't think it was only specific to the circumstance of Crete that this was written. And I think we will see in chapter 2 of Titus some roles given to the older women, the elderesses. And so let's hold on to that question. But I do think in terms of the overall supervision of the church, the overall eldership of the church, it's pretty clear in Titus 1 that that role is held by the older in age, the senior males in the fellowship. That's Daily Bible Time for today, and I'll look forward to your company tomorrow morning when we will be back in Isaiah. Looking forward to that with you tomorrow morning. God bless.